Switching gears here from talking about the coronavirus, the Wuhan virus, I have to note that David Frum, who considers himself highly erudite, I've dealt with him, and he's occasionally insightful and occasionally a total bozo. I mean, it depends when you get him. On certain subjects, he makes sense. On other subjects, you're like, and he thinks he's brilliant on everything, which is the problem, because he's not. He's going around telling people that no one calls it the Spanish flu anymore, which is interesting. He should probably reach out to the author of Pale Rider, The Spanish Flu of 1918, the title of the most well-known book on the subject, and say, hey, nobody calls it the Spanish flu anymore. What an imbecile. But there's a lot of that going around. People are fighting over stuff. And look, there's going to be a bit of tension over this. There are going to be people that are upset with each other. We're going to be dealing with a lot of short fuses. Here in New York City, there's some video circulating of people in an apartment block yelling at people on the street to get inside, flatten the curve. People who need to get air, all right? You can walk on the street, maintain your distance from people. You're not going to get sick, according to the CDC, if you keep more than 10 feet away from anybody and you're just outside in the air. Just don't touch anything. Don't walk around, let me touch all the door handles and let me wipe my face with them. Don't do that. And you should be okay if you go outside. If you're in the particularly high-risk population, don't even take that risk. Don't even do that. But, or maybe if you're going to go outside, just make sure it's at a time when there's very limited people out on the street and you're not going to share an elevator ride with somebody and you're not, things like that. But I told you that there was this other story, and this is classic. This is like the Friday before the long weekend government document dump with the stuff that they don't want anyone to spend any time digging into, understanding, learning about. This is just amazing. You will recall some time ago, there was this story about the Mueller team indicting the special counsel Robert Mueller, some Fox News. Well, let me give you the backstory. They indicted Concord Management and Consulting LLC and Concord Catering among 3 companies and 13 individuals charged in February of 2018 by Mueller. Their alleged criminal effort included social media postings and campaigns aimed at dividing American public opinion and sowing discord in the electorate, officials said, although no impact on voters was ever demonstrated. Some of us knew what this was right away. I tweeted the following out on February 16th of 2018 in response to the initial filing of this case. Mueller just indicted a bunch of Russians for setting up fake social media accounts and buying Facebook ads to say nasty things about Hillary online. That is what they did. Setting up fake Facebook accounts to say mean things about Hillary, and that was charged as interfering in our election and committing fraud against the United States government by these foreigners who were saying mean things about Hillary with Facebook accounts. That is what was going on. By the way, Hugh Hewitt, who's supposed to be a conservative, sort of, and a constitutional scholar, responded to me. I didn't respond to him, but they responded to me this way. Buck, the indictment is very clear. This isn't overreach in the least. Do you really think it's okay for a foreign government to do this? Well, Hugh, turns out that it was overreach. I was right. You, with a law degree, who teaches constitutional law, I think, at Harvard or something, but I never went to law school, but I also worked in national security, so I know what's BS about this stuff and what's not. Turns out that the Mueller team dropped the whole thing. Whoopsie! Not even going to continue charging this. In a striking, this is Fox News. Whoops, sorry, I just dropped something. In a striking and unexpected abandonment of a once heralded prosecution initiated by special counsel Mueller. This is stunning stuff. The Justice Department moved Monday to drop charges against 2 Russian companies that were accused of funding a social media meme campaign to further their, quote, strategic goal to sow discord in the U.S. political system, including the 2016 presidential election. Late Monday, with jury selection in the case set to begin in just 2 weeks, a federal judge granted the DOJ's motion to kill the prosecution for several counts of conspiring to defraud U.S. agencies tasked with combating election interference. The government acknowledged the Russian companies were never likely to actually face punishment anyway and cited possible national security risks with going forward to trial. Oh, so the whole thing, why'd they even file it? They didn't find out anything new. Well, the national security risk. Yeah, right. Of what? The Russian troll farms? This stuff would all have been done on the unclassified internet. Why can't they bring this case? It was so bad. This is astonishing. Of the 13 Russians and 3 Russian companies charged by Mueller in the social media disinformation effort, Concord was the sole defendant to enter an appearance in Washington's federal court and contest the allegations. Mueller's 37-page indictment said that the actions detailed by prosecutors date back to 2014. President Mueller later brought separate charges against other entities related to the hack of Democrat emails. President Trump noted that no Russian collusion with his campaign was ever proven, et cetera, et cetera. Various media outlets hyped the indictment, with NPR calling the Russian activities a, quote, attack on democracy. All right, let's just unpack this together for a second, shall we? This indictment was supposed to be our Mueller, brave Mueller team and prosecutors striking back at Russia, attacking our democracy by having Facebook accounts say mean things about Hillary Clinton online. That is the charge. That's what they're talking about. Election interference. And it's an attack on our democracy, yet they won't even proceed with this in federal court. Why? And also, why are they dropping this right now? Why'd they go to this point and then wait for the perfect moment to just say, oh yeah, that whole case, not going to be a case anymore? The Mueller prosecution, the whole Mueller investigation, which was really run by Weissman, was a fraud, an abject fraud, a disgrace to the country. It was all about Russia-Trump insanity. It was all about giving the media something to chew on. You don't drag people into federal court. I don't care what country they're from or who they work for. You don't drag them into federal court and try to make a case that by saying mean things on Facebook about a political candidate, they have attacked your very system of government. Anyone understands this if they think about it, but that was what the Mueller team, oh no, it's an attack on our democracy. Yeah, it's so important that they don't even go forward with the case. After 2 years. 2 years they kept this thing going. They just figured out now that it might not work? They just figured out now the national security risks? No. But they had to feed this into the system. Yes, we've indicted those Russians who meddled in our democracy. We've indicted those Russians who were doing terrible things that attacked our very system of government. We're going to bring them to justice. No, they're not. They were never going to. It was never going to happen. So why did they allow this to continue for 2 years? My friends, we see the truth of this. I tell you that no one can predict the future. I have been right about Russia collusion and Ukraine phone call, impeachment, all this stuff, every step of the way, because I see it for what it is. It's not because I can predict the future. It's because I understand the present. I know what's really going on. I understand these political dynamics. I know what's real in the national security field and what's not, because I used to work in it. I know who the clowns are. I know who the serious people are. And this Mueller team, the fact that Jeff Sessions let this thing go, I understand why the president, even though I like Jeff Sessions, think he's a good man, I understand why the president wants his primary opponent to beat him in Alabama. I get it. Sessions allowed this just wild beast of the Mueller probe loose on the Trump administration. Think about how much even more prosperous, even more prepared for the future, not just this pandemic, but for the future in general, the administration could be if they hadn't had to spend all this time and energy on just lunacy, this absurdity of the Russia collusion narrative and all this other stuff. It was absolutely nuts from the very beginning, and yet they made us suffer through this for over 2 years, the country. Well, I was telling you, many of you know this, I was saying, catastrophe sells, but I'm telling you, things are good now, enjoy it. Things are good now, enjoy it. You know, those of you who've been listening to me for even just the last year, I had times where I said, my friends, enjoy this country. This might be the best it's ever been. And I was telling you to enjoy it because I knew it wasn't going to last. And now we're in another phase. So, we've been together through the best of times. We're about to go through some difficult times together, team. And that's where we're at. That's where things are. But with this Russia nonsense, it's exactly as I thought. They dropped this when everyone's paying attention to other things. The whole charge was ridiculous. It was absurd overreach. They were never actually going to bring any of these people into court, and they knew that. So why charge them? What was the point? It was all narrative building. It was all BS. I was right. They were wrong. No surprise there. Who do you want to turn to at this time for personal advice about how to get ready for the future? Well, I got a good buddy who has some thoughts on this one. Brandon Webb, he's a former Navy SEAL. He was a sniper instructor, actually created the Navy SEAL Sniper School. He's now the CEO of Soft Rep Media, and he's got a book out, Coronavirus, How to Prepare, that you can now get on Apple, on Amazon. Brandon, my friend, great to have you back.
Hey, Buck. Good to be back, as always.
So, all right, man, what should people know about their own personal preparations for what we're going through?
So, I was, as you know, I've been at this course at Harvard Business School, and when I was there end of February, and when Corona started to take off in China, and I put out an article almost a month ago on just how to think about being prepared. And this is something that most Americans should just plan for, regardless of the situation we find ourselves in right now, is just having the basics at home in case of any type of natural disaster or pandemic like we're seeing now. And it's just being, better prepared. And I remember, my friends in New York kind of giving me a hard time, like, oh, do I really need to go stock up on just this basic stuff like water and cleaning, household cleaning items, toilet paper, stuff like this. And of course, when it became very real for America, things changed, right? So, I'd written that article, and that's when me and the guys who write for softrep.com said, you know what, let's see if we can put out a quick resource for people, just because a lot of people are wondering, like, what do I need to have at home, as far as first aid, food, water, that kind of thing. So, we wrote the book in a week, and, it's a short ebook, but it has really useful information. And as well as we covered some of the other more important news aspects of this, like the fact that, China, it's going to be interesting, because China, it looks like, had this virus in the laboratory and accidentally let it out. That's what.
Wait, you actually think you subscribe to that theory? I've brought that up on the show. I haven't seen evidence for that. You think that this came out of the lab?
I talked to a really good friend of mine who was a tier 1 operator and worked with the NSA. And I mean, it's no secret that the chemical or biological warfare lab in China is in Wuhan.
Yeah, the Wuhan Virology Institute, and they've lost viruses before, so that is established.
And the fact that they immediately are kind of trying to point the finger at the U.S. Army, because I think, in 1918, the Spanish flu did originate out of an Army base in the U.S., but this, I think, it's to be continued, but from what I've heard, I think that it's, the possibility is extremely strong that this is something that the Chinese let get out of hand probably by accident, God forbid, if they were trying to release this.
Right. Well, I mean, it hit their own population, so you got to figure that even for the Chinese Communist Party is not a move they would make.
Yeah. Well, what I heard was, talking to my friends, one of which worked at the NSA, was that this was potentially designed to kind of quell the Hong Kong uprising, right? You can imagine, you release this locally and what it does, but it's just, it's terrible to think about, but, the reality is it's a possibility. So
well, I mean, there are countries, and China is one of them, that do have I mean, I haven't heard any of this stuff that you're telling me you've heard from some of your, but you're a guy that does know Tier 1 operators and people that are in the intelligence community. But I can just say that there are countries, Russia, China, and, the U.S., we do research on it. I don't think we're trying to weaponize it, but weaponized, or bioweapons rather, and weaponized research on this is occurring in countries. That is a reality. We know that.
Yeah, without a doubt. So, and look, I came to Moscow for a business conference, and I'm here now stuck, but seeing just how the flow of information is very restricted in a country like Russia.
Wait, are you in Moscow right now?
Just today was. Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, I didn't realize you're coming to us from Moscow. I thought you were here in New York with me.
Yeah. No, I'm in Moscow. It's 8 o'clock at night here. So, it's very interesting, and I'm grateful to live in a country like America where, we do have access to at least information, much more so than in a country like Russia. Because just today, Buck, I saw people putting on masks and really taking it seriously, because the situation in Russia was well, the rest of the world has it, we don't. But the fact is, even the Moscow Times said today that there's over 100 cases that they're reporting, and it looks like 100 is about the point where it's a tipping point where you really can't rein this thing in anymore. So I think Russia is going to have to deal with their own.
All right, well, Brandon, give me two things give me two things that aren't obvious that you talk about in the book in terms of preparation. We only got about a minute.
Yeah, I mean, first aid, some type of household first aid, even basic stuff, especially if you're dealing with a self-quarantine, is extremely important. Water filtration, if you're in a situation where, you don't have clean water available and you do have to use water out of the faucet, some type of tablet or filtration device is super important. And then, the food. I can deal without the paper towels and toilet paper, but those are kind of the big important items. But anyone who subscribes to the site, SoftRep, can get the ebook for free. We're also giving it away. It's $2.99, but if people can't afford it, they can write us in. We'll give them the book for free. So we're just trying to be a useful source of information during all this.
Yeah, let me know. Let's bring you back in a week or two, because I want to hear how things are going in Moscow. If you're still there, man, we want you back stateside. But, don't worry. I'll call some of our old mutual friends if I have to. We'll get you brought back here if need be.
Okay. Yeah.
All right? But if you're still in Moscow, I want to hear how things are going over there, because they're just at the very beginning of dealing with this crisis.
Yeah, I'm taking notes, and I've got some friends here in the business community, so glad to come back. And
former Navy SEAL and CEO of SoftRep Media, Brandon Webb. Brandon, my friend, stay safe. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Buck.
It's time for roll call.
Roll call, everybody. And if you hear some snorting, that's not me. I'm fine. I'm healthy for now. Thank God. It's Tallulah, the family French bulldog that I've taken off my parents' hands for the time being, who is sitting in my lap. Those of you that watch on Pluto TV can see her. She is reminiscent of a baby seal, which my mom says I can't call her that because it might hurt her self-esteem. But she does look like one of those baby seals on the Arctic tundra that's trying to avoid polar bears, because she is a very well-fed French bulldog. But I want to get to your comments and your thoughts. That's why we're getting into the roll call. So with that in mind, remember Facebook.com/Buck Sexton or TeamBuck@iHeartMedia.com if you want to email. I'm talking to producer Mark. We might just, hey, Mark, I got an idea. There must be some online answering service that people, maybe not. It just seems like something that might exist. We should do some investigating. Couldn't we just set up a digital voicemail box for ourselves that people could call into during this time?
I can look into it. I would ask the tech people, but they're a little swamped at the moment.
Yeah, no, they're trying to keep shows on the air, so that's why I don't want to bother them with it. I'm thinking, if anyone has any ideas out there, how about this? I'll crowdsource this to the team. What's the best way that we could do easy audio call-in so people could leave messages for the show, share their thoughts? I'll answer their questions that way. I think that would be a great thing for us to do, especially in this time. I literally want to hear the voices of the team. So
yeah, it sounds like a lot more work for me. Thanks, Buck.
Hey, producer Mark. You're a beast when it comes to the work. You know what I mean? You handle any load we give you.
And I handle a lot of it.
Yeah, that's true, actually. All right, everybody, here we go. We got Duran first up in roll call. Buck, great show. You said on the Friday podcast about an alternative for toilet paper. The answer is baby wipes. Oh, wow. Who knew? Made the switch years ago and would never go back. Shields high. So I am familiar with this wipes situation. I do know, however, that the wipes can be a problem for sewage systems.
They make flushable wipes.
Even those, producer Mark.
Oh.
It's not that they get stuck in the... Although you're correct, the flushable ones mean that your plumbing won't be messed up. But even the flushable ones get stuck in the... They create something called a fatberg because they consolidate and they will stick together in the actual sewage system. And like in London, for example, they have some... I think it's like, 20 or 30 feet across or something, this giant thing of wipes because they use them there. I'm serious. It's called the Fatberg. You can look it up. It's disgusting. It's the grossest thing you'll ever see in your life.
That sounds awful.
Yeah, it's a real thing. Tallulah, you don't like Fatbergs, right? No, she's licking my arm right now, but the good news is dogs don't have coronavirus, so we're fine, right? We're fine in here right now. Yeah, she's hanging out. For her, it's just like, as long as I get my walks and I get fed my fancy food, Tallulah has no problems.
This virus is great for dogs because
How
people
so?
are home.
Oh yeah, owners are home all the time. You're right. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, no, she's getting a lot of attention. She also, I thought this was funny. I was a little worried about her this morning because hey, no snorting in the microphone. I was a little worried about her this morning because she was going. Sorry if you, she's licking my hand. I don't know. She knows that she's on camera right now. And she was pushing her food bowl around, like headbutting it all over the floor of my kitchen. And I called my mom. I was like, what is that? I'm a little worried. She's like a little triceratops ramming her food bowl across the floor. Why would she do that? And my mom goes, oh, that's because she doesn't like the mix you had of the wet food and the dry food. So you have to redo her breakfast. That's for real. So I had to redo her breakfast. She was protesting that I did not give the proper mix of dry food and wet food in her bowl, and so I had to redo it. Yeah.
That's one spoiled animal.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is why if you get a French bulldog, you might as well put a little beret on them because this is how they act. You get yourself like a lab or a Rottweiler or a Rhodesian Ridgeback or a Golden Retriever, and they're all like, oh, I just love being fed, and I love everybody, and I'm so nice. You get a Frenchie, and the Frenchie's like, you must earn my love. You must work for it. You must give me the perfect food. You must give me everything I need, or else I will not give you the kisses. That's how Tallulah rolls. All right, Ernest. Buck, glad to hear in your list of alternative locations for the Freedom Hut, Austin was first. I moved here from Connecticut about 4.5 years ago. I went back to see my son in NYC last year, and man, was that depressing. Not just seeing him fully assimilated in liberal groupthink, but the worn-out vibe of New York. Austin is way cool, and somehow everyone gets along despite the eclectic makeup. Plenty of room for you and Producer Mark here. First of all, Producer Mark, if the Freedom Hut had to relocate, just forget about, that Mrs. Mark Ariel has her own life and family here and everything else, and that I know this isn't just like a snap. But if we had to bounce on New York, do you have your preferred second Freedom Hut location?
Yeah, any of the states that have no state income tax.
So Florida would be up there.
Absolutely.
Texas
has no income tax, then sure.
Oh, yeah. Texas has no state
didn't
income
know that.
tax. Oh, big time.
Any of those states are fine.
I think also, all right, Tallulah. All right. She's being a baby. Now she goes on the ground. I think you also have, although now she's probably going to bark at me and make a lot of noise because she knows I'm on the show. I think that Tennessee also has very low state income tax. But anyway, so you just want no state income tax.
Yes, that's all I want.
Do you know New Jersey's? I only ask if you know because then it's tax season and I've actually got to figure out. I think New York is like 11. New York plus New York City is something like 11%.
I believe that New Jersey is lower than what I was paying in New York City because I was a Queens resident, but I'm not sure. Now I can't get a new license right now because I think the DMVs are closed, so I don't even know what to do about taxes next year. Luckily, that's a next year problem.
Yeah, I'm wondering myself about getting my taxes done this year. Ernest, oh no, we already did Ernest. Zach, I was listening to you talk about how to refer to the Wuhan virus in your show, and today you mentioned Wu flu. I'd just like to point out you missed a perfect opportunity to call it Kung flu. Zach, I did refer to it as Kung flu, or at least I said that that's what people are referring to it as. There's the Wu flu, Wuhan virus. There's a lot of different names out there for this. And, you know, I think that people need to remember it's not disparaging any other culture or country. We're just trying to take a little bit of the fear out of the virus. You know, this is why people name things the way they do and do things the way they do in this regard. Roseanne writes, Buck, fairly new listener. You mentioned that now the Wuhan virus is real because Tom Hanks has tested positive. I have to disagree. It was real before this. Mr. Hanks is just a man like anyone else. Just my thoughts. Well, Roseanne, I appreciate you writing in, and it's welcome. It's great to have a new listener. I wasn't saying it was real because Tom Hanks tested positive. What I said was it has become more real for some people because Tom Hanks has tested positive, meaning that now they think the thought process here would be that if somebody as famous and rich and influential as Tom Hanks can get this, anyone can get this, and so they would take it more seriously themselves. It's not, I wasn't saying, oh, now Tom Hanks has this, so we have to take it seriously. I honestly do not care about celebrities really at all. I don't even, I'm not impressed by celebrities, famous actors, famous politicians, famous musicians, athletes. Don't care. I mean, I respect some of them, what they do. Some of them I don't care. So I'm glad we had that clarification. Roseanne, welcome to the team. CK, hey, Buck, you know the best part of all sports being canceled during this panic fest? The local hockey team games always preempted your show. Broadcast delay here, 9 p.m. to midnight on WoWo, which really ticked me off. So for at least the next month or however long, I can listen to your wit and wisdom uninterrupted. Keep calm and carry on fearlessly in Fort Wayne. WoWo, cheers. Yeah, CK, thanks so much, man. I appreciate that I now have an additional opportunity to speak to some folks because talk radio is still going strong, and it's in some ways more important than ever right now. And, you know, we do not have the same limitations. You all listen to me virtually. So we are all safe and sound, talking to each other, doing the show. No, I can guarantee you this. You will not get Wuhan virus from listening to the Buck Sexton show. So that is a promise that I can make all of you. It will not fly into your ear, and I know you all know that, but I'm just saying. Ed, Buck, great analysis. I could never do it at 1.5, though. Okay. Friday, while talking about AOC's comments to Brett Baer, you mentioned some well-known people who are Wuhan positive that may have had an easier time getting tested than common folk. I noticed 2 of them were in Australia, 1 was in Canada. Better health care, perhaps? I'm not a single-payer guy, but our system is deeply flawed. Ed, you can't really judge a system based on 1 or 2 people getting 1 or 2 tests. There have been thousands and thousands of tests done in New York State alone now for coronavirus, so Wuhan virus, Wu flu, whatever you want to call it. So I don't think that's really a fair comparison. And look, I'd rather be in I'd rather be in a U.S. hospital with any disease than any other hospital anywhere else in the world. So that I think that sort of speaks for itself. I mean, if someone says to you, "This is life or death," what country you're going to be in the hospital in a country for a month? Where do you want it to be? Maybe some of you would say Sweden. Maybe some of you would say Switzerland or Australia. Fine. I would say America. And I'm somebody who is generally skeptical of much of the modern medical system because I've dealt with there's a lot of non-answers and a lot of billing from doctors I've gotten. A lot of non-answers and a lot of billing. That has been my experience, my personal experience with modern medicine. So there's that. But yeah, I would choose America. Carl writes, the last 2 days, it sounds like you're drinking the Kool-Aid, my friend. The current absurdity reminds me about the media's rants of body bag counts before Desert Storm or the hyperbole of Y2K. I think in 2 or 3 weeks, we'll look back and wonder why we're so worried about this. Now more than ever, shields high. Be careful and be well. Carl, look, I think we just disagree on the risk parameters or the way we're willing to tolerate risk here. I agree that if in 2 or 3 weeks this thing isn't what they've told us it's going to be, then we got to make some dramatic, not changes so much as revert to normal. I'm only giving this thing 2 or 3 weeks, and then I'm going to assess where we are, and then personally I'm going to say, okay, maybe but given what we've seen in Italy, and given what all of the experts, including Trump's experts, are saying now, I think we got to give it the 2 to 3 weeks. I think we have to do that. That just seems to me to be common sense at this point. So I don't really know how I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I've been a pretty calm voice about this all along, I think. I've been optimistic about it. Some have even criticized me for being maybe more optimistic than they think I should have been. But what's the alternative? We're going to risk spiking the cases right when the healthcare system is fragile and then have a lot of people that die that wouldn't have had to die if we had just had a little better preparation and a little bit less of a spike in time. I think that the experts that the Trump administration's pulled together, I think we give them the 15 days that they've asked for here. I think we give them those 15 days. I'm not giving them 50 days, where meaning that if I feel like this thing is not as out of control as we've been led to believe it can be, and we're all going to be assessing as we go through this, and ultimately we all do have to be the arbiters of our own personal risk. So that's where we're at. Doug, Buck and Mark, relatively new fan of Mark's, but Buck, I've been a fan of yours since Red Eye and the Shaggin' Wagon. I got you 3 new listeners, and they love your show. Well, thank you so much, Doug. Most helpful thing you can do for us, especially during this time, guys. People are looking for, new programs, new shows, new entertainment, and if you're texting friends, emailing them, posting on your Facebook, please pass the buck. Tell them about this show. I don't think that there's a better radio show out there right now, especially given what's going on right now. Okay, other than Rush. But, especially given what's going on right now in the country, I think that this work that we're doing here matters, and I would love to share it with as many people as possible. I mean, I really believe in what I do. I'm very confident in the product that Mark and I put out every day, and we have nothing but the best intentions, and we couldn't put any more effort and heart and soul into this for our listeners than we do. So please do pass the buck. Tell people about it. You're stuck at home. You're texting folks. If they're going to tell you, hey, check out The Boys on Amazon Prime, it's okay. I'm a little bit into it. I'll tell you more about that maybe tomorrow or later on in the week. Be like, hey, have you listened to the Buck Sexton Show? It's a great thing while you're cleaning up the apartment or just getting ready to make dinner or whatever it is you got going on. Listen to the Buck Sexton Show. He also wrote, the virus comes from China and the economy takes a hit. The only way to really defeat Trump is if the economy tanks. Given what we know about China, do you think this is something that they wouldn't do just because they love civil rights too much? Guys, there's a lot of theories out there now. I need evidence for theories, and I don't have any evidence that China would be willing to, I know we just talked to Brandon. Look, Brandon is a SEAL with a lot of connections in the special operations. It was a SEAL. A lot of connections in the special operations community, knows a lot of people in the intel community too. And he thinks that there's more going on here with China than we've been led to believe so far. So we'll see. I don't have it yet, though. I don't have the information necessary to accelerate or to go deeper on that kind of a charge. Eric, hey, Buck, checking in from Team Buck, Minnesota. Oh, hey, Eric from Minnesota. Some super nice people in Minnesota. My fiance and I are planning on getting married in 2 weeks. However, bars in the area are starting to close for a month due to the Wuhan virus. The governor might require it. This would mean our venue and caterer would be forced to cancel. What this means for our big day? Maybe looking for a new venue caterer. Might be looking for a new wedding date. Yet to be seen. What this means for the thousands of dollars we've spent and the year plus of planning? No clue. Like weddings aren't hard enough. Until then, shields high. Eric, man, my heart goes out to you. I'm sure that's really challenging and difficult and annoying and frustrating, but ultimately, man, you found the woman you're going to spend the rest of your life with. You're going to get married. I'm sure you can start a beautiful family, and that's what actually matters. I know everyone wants a beautiful, picture-perfect wedding, but you found your life partner, and God bless, and that's the most important thing, and you two will be together through thick and thin. You're starting out through thin, I guess, in a sense right now in terms of where the world is on coronavirus, but you'll be all right, and you found each other, and that's what really matters. So, nothing but the best to you two. God bless. And I hope that you manage to find a great way to do your wedding. If it's postponed or maybe you just keep it to under 10 people. I don't know. I'm not good at planning these kinds of things. Team, I hope you've enjoyed the show today. I'm going to try to mix in even more pandemic analysis and talk tomorrow because I know we're going to all get beaten down by that. But we did a bit of a mix today. We'll have more tomorrow. I'm going to go tend to Tallulah now because she's running around my bedroom creating a mess. I was just digging through stuff in there. All right, everybody, shields high.